Hello and welcome to PBCJ Presents, our weekly discussion series in which we examine some of the hot button issues of the day. I am Simone Absalom Gale. This week we focus on accountability. We hear the term good governance, but what does this mean? What role do citizens play in the oversight of their government? Does it end at voting? Joining us in studio to explain our role is Ms. Janet Calder, Executive Director of Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, commonly known as JAMP. Ms. Calder, welcome.
Thank you very much, Simone. Good to be with you today.
All right, first off, what is good governance? Why is it important?
It's extremely important. The short version is really, how does government make decisions on behalf of us? What is the quality of the process? But the longer version would look at, I think, 8 different principles. I would just say 4 of the important ones are, first of all, transparency. Now let's remember that the government works for us. So if they're working on behalf of us, we need to understand what they're doing, when they're doing, why they're doing it, and for how much. And the extent to which citizens can know transparently when things are happening, how it is happening, is what we look at as transparency. We must be in the know because they are utilizing our funds and making decisions on our behalf. So that's one principle of good governance. Another one is accountability. And I'm not making this up, Simone, not because it's the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. It is known that accountability, which is the idea that if you have someone working on your behalf, and they are not doing a good job of it, you should be able to know when that is happening. That's calling them to account, getting a report on what's happening. But the next half of accountability is holding them to account, being in a position to sanction or reward when things are going right or wrong. Another one is responsiveness. When there is a problem, if you are doing something on my behalf, if I have a problem, how long does it take you to respond to that concern? So government has to be responsive. And I think the last one I would want to speak of is rule of law. The government itself has created laws, not only for us, but for the government. So for instance, a procurement law, how they buy goods and services, the Corruption Act, when government workers actually take advantage of what kind of resources are in their hands. The Public Bodies Management and Accountabilities Act that speaks to how public companies work. All of these acts are there. Now, the extent to which government follows their own rule of law determines whether or not we're having good governance. And last but not least is participatory governance. The extent to which citizens get a chance to participate in the decision-making process, so the extent to which citizens are consulted when decisions are taking place. So those are some of the principles that are involved in whether or not we can measure if we're getting good governance.
How can we actively get involved as citizens?
Wow, that is a wonderful question, and I think no better time to ask it because there have been a lot of conversations about the Constitution recently, and one of the things that I would like to see us discuss is the extent to which we get to participate in the decision. So now every 4 or 5 years we elect 126 Jamaicans as parliamentarians in the lower house to make decisions and to represent us. But if I have a problem or if I have a question and if I have a concern, how easy or difficult is it for me to have my representative raise a concern for me in the house? How many citizens know what that process is? Or even if there is such a process.
Exactly.
That's one of the things we would want to look at in terms of participation. Constituency development funds is one of the ways JAMP usually recommends citizens get involved. It's not national, it's local, it's your constituency. You can access your MP easier than you can access an entire parliament. So we usually say to them, well, if you're interested, why not start there? Why not start with asking yourself, we get $20 million allocated to my constituency every year. The policy says that the Member of Parliament cannot get approval for that project unless he consults with citizens. Most citizens don't know that, Simone. Now, if citizens knew of that and they did get an opportunity to consult, they could decide how is that pie of 20 million divided up in the constituency. And as citizens get used to talking to MPs about the 20 million in their constituency, they will build the confidence to begin to talk to our members of parliament about the $902 billion at the national level. So our recommendation is start local. Start in your constituency, engage your MP about that 20 million, in your constituency. And as you develop the confidence about how government and governance works, you can move your way up to engaging the Parliament of Jamaica. That's how we look at it. That's my first recommendation to how you would start as a citizen.
That's interesting because I didn't know that they had to confer with. I mean, I know that they do to an extent, but I didn't know as
that it was
an individual
an obligation
that I can ask.
Well,
What's happening?
I'm proud to say that there are some MPs, so that's one of the things that JAMP does. We track the performance of members of Parliament to hold them to account. So on JAMP's website for the MP tracker, we track to see if all the MPs are meeting with the citizens and if all the MPs are providing JAMP with a report on what did they do with the 20 million. So if citizens get used to asking their MPs, what did you do with the 20 million last year? Then I think that they will get a little bit more confident again to ask the MPs what are they doing at the national level. Most citizens don't know that for the 20 million, there are 6 categories that the MP has to divide up that money into. Hold them to account for where that money goes and to make sure it is used properly.
Let's stick up in there. Very interesting. Some of these things I certainly didn't know. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that report that JAMP provides and other roles that JAMP does play. Stay with us. You're watching PBCJ Presents.
Hi, I'm Eliana Charles, and I'm here with my father, Pernell Charles, and today we will be planting a guava tree.
And that's our favorite fruit, and we got this tree from the forestry department. So, let's get it done. Some of the tools you need when planting a tree: a fork, you'll need a shovel, a good old machete.
And you need a watering can.
The first thing we're going to do is we dig a hole and make sure that it is deep enough, wide enough to fit the tree. And we're going to keep, of course, our soil so we can backfill the hole. We have planted our guava tree, and we invite the entire Jamaica to plant a tree. Plant a tree,
Protect Jamaica,
and preserve the planet.
Welcome back to PBCJ Presents. We're talking about accountability. What is our role as citizens in keeping our government accountable, in ensuring that they are practicing good governance? And one group that's helping is the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, JAMP. Now, where does JAMP come in all of this?
Right. Well, JAMP is really a response, Simone, to a complaint that we hear citizens make all the time, and we as citizens got tired of it and decided, what can we do? And that is this 9-day wonder phenomenon. You've heard of it. 9 days. Something happened, scandal bust, citizens do the right thing. They respond, they write letters to the Gleaner, they call the talking shows, but after 9 days it's done. You've heard it before. And JAMP decided that, well, if this is my business, if this is the citizens' money, if they are our employees, because we employ them through a process called an election, but it is an employment, it is a job recruitment process, then it means I'm an employer. And I don't know any employer that doesn't monitor and make sure that things, when they go wrong, have to be tracked to make sure they go right. So we decided that we would set up a accountability meter portal which would track the things that go wrong in government and keep our eyes on it until it is remedied. So we would keep the government abreast of whether or not they're being remedied, the parliament abreast, the permanent secretaries abreast, the media abreast. So we would invite any citizen watching today to go to www.jampja.org. We have an accountometer. The Auditor General every year tells the Parliament the waste, the mismanagement, and potential corrupt activities that take place. The media talks about it. And then a new headline comes up, and that headline is gone. JAMP says, no, we have an access to information legislation that says citizens are empowered to ask for information they want. So if something went wrong, we write to the permanent secretaries and we say, what steps have you taken to remedy this? Now, this is not something special to JAMP. Simone can do this. The cameraman can do this. The security guard at the gate who was so nice to me can do this. It is citizens recognizing my money wasting. I don't have to wait on the media. I don't have to wait on the parliament. I can be in place to track it and to report back to everyone else.
How has this been going? How reactive? What's the time period? Do they take a
Great
year,
question.
2 years?
No, when we started, we were getting around a 44% response to all queries that we sent out to government. We're up to 78% at this point in time. And one of the things I'd like to share with you, Simone, which is very encouraging, they say that monitoring is like when you turn on the light on cockroach. They're there, you turn on the light, they scurry. I put it that way because once citizens pivot and start to turn the light on, things that should not be where they are run away. What do I mean by that? An agency might not be submitting their financial reports to tell government what happened. All JAMP has done sometimes is just to ask the question, when was the last time you submitted it to the Auditor General?
And it happens.
And we find they start to get it together.
Is there anything
Isn't
like
that amazing?
That happened recently that you can say, well, we raised this issue and
absolutely.
that happened?
No, I can say, and I don't know if I want to call the name of the ministry, but we had a ministry that for 5 years, a certain ministry that had not provided the Auditor General with any reports. And I think, in all honesty, we didn't see any reason why citizens couldn't ask. So in asking the question, they said, oh, we'll soon get you in a minute, Ms. Calder. But over the period of 6 months, guess what happened, Simone? They slowly got their accounts up to date and sent it into the Auditor General. We didn't have to make a big deal out of it. Citizens just had to ask. What did the government do? Respond. What has happened? The Auditor General now has all 5 reports. It can be as simple as that when we pay attention. Now, one matter we're tracking right now began in 2018. Big issue with the Auditor General. $3 billion spent through the National Insurance Fund without the approval of the board of the National Insurance Fund, without the approval of the Permanent Secretary, without the approval of the Ministry of Finance, and without the approval of Cabinet. Now, how does a public sector body invest $3 billion without those approvals? So in 2018, when we were told about it, we said, no, we're going to keep our eyes on this. So 2018, 2019, 2021, 22. And tracking and keeping in touch with the Ministry of Finance, we're now told that the report has gone over to the DPP, and we're waiting on the DPP for a ruling on the matter. Now, Simone, we will never know, but I believe if citizens are not asking, where's the report? Where are the answers? Where are the findings? Many times in the past, those reports have been left what? Under cobweb and under dust. But by citizens paying attention, minding their business, we find that progress is happening. We're getting these reports into the right hands so that we can have accountability. So that's the accountometer that tracks the things that go wrong to tell government where it is now. There's the MP tracker that's tracking whether or not our parliamentarians are attending Parliament, whether or not they are paying attention to the constituency development fund.
What's the precedence for that? How many times do they have to, is it that every whatever? I want to know.
We want to get it up to every quarter, but every year we have been updating it to let you know. I'll give you one example. Since Minister Andrew Wheatley has left the cabinet, I think Minister Wheatley has been in the Parliament 36 to 37% of the time. Now, can you have an employee here at PBCJ showing up only 36% of the time and expecting them to have a job? What would the answer be? No.
Wow.
So we begin to track these things so that we can start to hold our parliamentarians to account.
We're going to take another break because when we get back, I want to find out how does this affect our democracy? If we're having persons who are not pulling their weight and not showing up, what does this mean for our country? What does this mean for good governance? Stay with us. PBCJ Presents. We'll be right back.
I wish to inform Jamaica that the government has already launched Operation Get Every Illegal Gun. My message today, therefore, is directed to the many young men who have illegal weapons in their possession, who hide the weapons, or as they say, lock them. And I'm speaking as well to the girlfriends, the baby mothers, the sisters and the mothers who give them cover and protection. I'm giving you warning. Put down the gun. Give it up. Leave the gang. Dissociate yourself from the gunmen. Otherwise, the consequences will be grim.
Welcome back. You're watching PBCJ Presents. We're talking about accountability, more specifically accountability in governance here in Jamaica. And I'm speaking with Miss Calder. She's from JAMP, the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. I want you to remember that because how does citizens get involved? How do we, other than coming to your portal and stuff like that, are you doing public education campaigns? How do we know what's going on?
So one of the things, and I'll start with how PBCJ is actually helping JAMP to get the word out to educate citizens. So for example, some of the things that we've explained to you here, we have put it in an animated video form. So during the course of the budget, we had an animated video explaining the 4 cycles of the budget. PBCJ, I believe, has that on rotation. We have the recent one that explains the Access to Information Act. On what basis can I, as a citizen, ask the minister for him report? I can do that, Jeanette? Yes, the legislation empowers you. How does it work? We provide those videos to explain how. Accountability in Parliament, we break those down also in videos. Now, aside from those videos, my thing, Simone, is to say to citizens this. Taki, Nani, Paul, Sam, you know those names, our heroes. They didn't have this. You know what this is? This gives me access to the Prime Minister of Jamaica. This gives me access to the leader of the opposition.
How so?
How so? Because this is the era of social media. And I think all of us know that our leaders are willing to communicate with us through social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The question is, to what extent are we communicating back with them? And I'm proud to see that citizens are taking advantage of it. But I'm saying it cannot be a one-way street. Since they have made themselves available, if there's a question, if there's a concern, don't limit it to calling the talking show. You have access that my great-great-grandfather did not have. Talk to your MPs. Tag them when you have the questions. Don't let's just talk to each other on Twitter. If it's about a particular issue, tag the minister that's responsible.
Which brings me back to how their representation affects democracy. Because if there is someone who is not, say, representing well in the House of Parliament, which is where they should come and present the issues that they think or they've been told are affecting their constituents, how would that then ripple into how good they're playing their role?
Well, before we started off with attendance, it seems so basic. All the information that JAMP gets, we don't pull it out of the air. This is information that the government collects because the government knows it's important for good governance and democracy. All JAMP is doing on behalf of citizens is collecting that. You're busy at work, you don't have no time to be tracking MP, so JAMP does that for you. We have provided a tool through our portal with 3 different trackers with 3 new ones to come. What we are saying, Simone, is like any tool, it is something that helps you to do something easier. So when citizens book me up and say, Jeanette, I don't know how to hold them to account, I say to them, for the democracy's sake, come to our website. Look at the findings that JAMP is giving you an update on. All the social media buttons are there. JAMP is the only website in Jamaica that provides contact information for all members of Parliament, all their constituency offices, all their emails, and all their phone numbers. That doesn't exist in government. So we say, here are the problems, here are JAMP's findings, here are all the contacts for your MP. Contact them. Get involved. They are your employees. You are the employer. I don't know anybody, Simone, who can start a business, set up the equipment, put the staff in place, borrow the loan, set up everything, and don't come back for 5 years and expect the business to be running well. Is that not what we do with government? We put them in place, and then 5 years later when it's election, that's the only time we come back to consider, which is the question about voting. No, the voice is as, if not more important, than the voting every 5 years. And when Jeanette says the voice, we mean speaking your concerns, asking the questions, writing government, getting involved.
I was just about to ask you to break that down because some persons might be saying, you know, I vote them in, I'm expecting this, and then it doesn't happen. You tell us explicitly what happens if you vote a member of Parliament in and you don't keep them up to date and in question and accountable. What can happen? What won't we have?
Okay, so let me just break that down. You said very succinctly and clearly. We put $912 billion in a budget. We are going to have to finance that. We are going to get good public goods and services. Our quality of life is going to improve. When we don't hold them to account and figure out how, the quality of those public goods and services decrease, the waste increases, the corruption increases. And all of that impacts my life. So what I'm saying, Simone, is that let's start with the tools JAMP have. Come and look at the website. Come and look at how we have made it easier for you to contact them, to find out what is happening, and to understand government better. It's as simple as that. Figure out how to get it done. We're trying to make it easier. I don't know if there's anything else that I can add, because that's really just the case. You have to figure out how government works, what are the entry points for citizens' voice, and get involved. And JAMP is showing us how to do that.
Are you NGO? Or
Yes, we are a not-for-profit organization.
so how do you get teeth to that? Like, because somebody would be like, well, then, you know, you probably just all talk.
No, sir. When you say all talk, what do you mean? All those
Like
wonderful examples that we have literally given you
Yes.
of not only how we are working with government, but working with the Auditor General of Jamaica. Because part of what citizens recognize is that when the Auditor General comes out with those reports, Simone, there is no follow-up, not by the Parliament and not by all the work that the AG has to do. So when things go wrong, how we know in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months if it fixed? So we're saying citizens JAMP, we're partnering with government, not fighting government, not in conflict with government, but partnering with government to make sure that things fix, waste get reduced, fraud gets reduced, and corruption gets reduced.
Do you only focus on government, or do you look at other agencies?
No, only government at this point. We are very grateful for the assistance of the development agencies. We are primarily supported by the European Union, but our focus is to improve governance in Jamaica and the quality of all our lives. That's it.
What's your aim? Do you aim to spread across the region, or are you just, when I say that, I mean the Caribbean, or are you just going to be focusing on Jamaica?
I think these are really good questions. What is happening in Jamaica is not unique to our jurisdiction. Everybody in the Caribbean, everybody in the Commonwealth is struggling to make sure that they get value out of the taxpayers' dollars. So we have been approached so far by Trinidad as the only Caribbean country that has shown an interest in replicating the model, and we intend to show them how to do it with the hope that they'll be able to get funding the way we have. So the tools that we have would be relevant to any citizen in any jurisdiction wanting to know how we can hold government to account, because our systems are pretty much the same in the Commonwealth. So that's an intention of ours, Simone, to make sure that it works here so that we can export this governance model to other countries. Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting. You said that you're working with, both, government in general and the AG.
In particular.
So can I come to your website and get those reports, the Accountant General report?
Absolutely. So if there's a particular concern, you come to the website, there's a lovely filter that tells you a particular ministry that you're interested in, or let's say you're interested in procurement, which has always been my interest. You have a filter for procurement. When you click on that, it shows you all the things that went wrong in government that JAMP is tracking. And it shows you what is the status of it now. Some of them, and quite a few, Simone, have actually been remedied. Click the button. Tell government, well done. It doesn't have to be always about condemnation. JAMP also wants it to be about commendation. So absolutely, come check it out and let us know what you think. We're building it for you, the citizen,
That's
so
true.
it's citizens building this for citizens. So we do want the feedback, and the only way to get it is if you come and check it out.
Speaking of commendation, is there anything that you were tracking at JAMP and you saw that there was a positive response and that issue got resolved in that instance?
Oh yeah, there are quite a few. You mean an example of
yes,
that?
Give me an example.
For example, the financial reports. One of the things that the Auditor General keeps her eyes on is we give an agency money, she makes sure that they spend it the way they were supposed to. If she's not getting the reports, JAMP has in several instances gotten in touch with those agencies and find that they're now sending the reports into them.
So how long has JAMP been around? Because,
JAMP was launched on the 17th of October, 2019.
Wow.
So we're just about ready to turn 3 years old.
Wow. And you've been doing so much work since then.
Thank you. We're really doing our best. We're actually doing this, Simone, because we don't have time to waste. We think all the ingredients for change are here. The legislative framework that we need, the institutions that we need, press freedom, that is so important, the oversight agencies that the government has put in place and financed, the parliamentary oversight. When we look at the list of 9 that we have, you know what's missing?
What?
The citizen. Engaged citizens. But part of it is that citizens are interested, but they don't know how. And so the JAMP tools are there to say, this is how we make it easier. Come to the site, look at the trackers, utilize them. Make your voice heard.
Are there any more plans for additional trackers that you're going to add?
I'm very excited about the procurement tracker. I am extremely proud of the fact that Jamaica has a best practice where for 14 years we have been recording every contract over 500,000. There are few jurisdictions in the world that do that. So we have about 20-year database in a big fat Excel file on a government website that nobody knows about. So JAMP has taken that database and is about to create a procurement tracker, which basically shows government, the watchdog agencies, civil society, and the media how we are spending our money and in what manner, who is getting that money, when and where. That's a very important tracker for the kind of governance, and in particular when you're dealing with corruption. It shows up a lot in procurement, so that's going to be a very important tracker. Another one that we're coming out with is the National Budget Tracker. And it's the idea that right now the budget is 1,000 pages and very intimidating for citizens.
It is that big yellow book. That big yellow book.
That 20-pound book.
I just read the footnotes, so because sometimes I get lost.
And so did I, even as a senior member of the public service. So what JAMP has done is transferred that 1,000 page to fit on your phone, where citizens can now not have to wade through a PDF, but a searchable database for any information you want. Simone, if you wanted to know how much is government spending on envelopes, as simple as that, you should be able to know. The JAMP site, envelopes, boop, the answer is $35 billion, as easy as that. Now, can you imagine the kind of conversations that we can now have with government when we know exactly what is being spent?
Yes, are you killing all the trees? Are you?
Well, that will be another question.
Too many envelopes, you know what I'm saying? Is there anything else you want to add in terms of what JAMP is up to?
Well, I just want to say to all the citizens that what we do is not because I have any special education. The last thing I want, Simone, is for people to think that, boy, yeah, Jeanette do that because she got to school and study public administration, political science. No, I'm actually trained as an architect. So what I'm doing just comes from the love of this country and the interest. And so I'm encouraging every citizen, because we don't know it all. What are we doing? We are learning by doing. And as we learn, we turn around and share. So we're just saying to everybody else, let's do it together. The voting is important, but the voice, the citizen engaging during the voting is extremely urgent. So use your voice on the portal, take advantage of the tools we're designing, and let's change Jamaica into the Jamaica we want.
And how do we give you money? You said you are an NGO.
Ooh, yes.
Do you accept, funds?
We anticipate that we will continue to get the support of development agencies for the work that we're doing here in Jamaica.
And you're doing good work. Very
Appreciate
good idea,
that,
and very
really
inspiring. Very inspiring. It's something that students can use.
Absolutely.
And just I wish I had that when I was doing business
it's not
in
too
high
late.
school.
It's not too late. Still valuable, still important.
All right, thanks for coming in and speaking with us. Very informative, very interesting. You've been watching PBCJ Presents. Our topic this week is accountability. Thanks to my special guest, Janet Calder, Executive Director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. This has been PBCJ Presents. I'm Simone Absalom, present viewing.